Namaskaram and hello again. It's Arjun. You can call me Justin. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give a thumbs up if you like it, and share and leave a comment. So I just got done with some exercise. I went on a trail run. Of course, the wind's got to pick up. But I am trying to shield it. I'm walking through, I think, one of the prettiest cemeteries that I've been in the U.S. And it's in Huntsville, right next to downtown in the historic area. But it is, it's really beautiful, especially in the fall. Very old, you know. Um, and I do kind of want to, respect the dead and those that have passed on. So I don't want to show too many tombstones and markers, especially out of respect for the families and loved ones that are still around today. But I wanted to. I was passing through after my trail run, and I think cemeteries they're beautiful places, and it's a good reminder of where we're all headed one day. You all might think that's dark or morbid, but it's true, and that's why I was going to talk about something else today. But when I was passing by, I was like, just let's go for a nice kind of warm down walk post run, and I'm not really dress appropriate. Hashtag awesome for a cemetery, but um, I just thought to myself, Westerners, and in particular Americans, have a really unhealthy relationship with death. More and more of us feel like we're entitled to this long life, full of happiness and joy and fun times and nice things. And we're afraid of dying. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say oh, I'm looking forward to dying. Sometimes, in a way, yes, because hopefully that means I'm going to progress forward on my journey, my soul's journey, and I'm going to, get closer and closer to returning to to Sri Bhagavan, or the Brahman, the ultimate, and the absolute. And life can be hard, and sometimes you're just like, yeah, all right, let's try again next time. Let's see what happens next time. But I'm sure if the time comes to, and I'm aware that I'm dying, there's probably going to be some fright there. It's going to be scary. And, I think that's because, at least in our culture, it's ingrained into us that death is something that you need to avoid at all costs until, you've used up every cell in your body, that can regenerate and divide and, just keep reproducing new tissue. As long as your faculties are still there, you need to live, 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 live. And there's this, a lot of you may have heard of him or seen a video of his, Sadhguru. And he is famous for saying, you have to get it, in your head, and this is not verbatim, but you have to get it in your head that the minute we're conceived, the second we're conceived, we're already headed to the grave. You have one foot in the grave. And, that's so true. And death needs to be looked at. Our kids need to be educated on what death is. They're going to be experiencing it anyways, even if they live into old age, because others around them are going to die and pass away. So I think it's really important that we do educate everybody that death is a normal process of the cycle of life, right? And I made a post the other day about, we are the creator, preserver, and destroyer. Sorry, I'm getting like a lot of wind again. We are the creator, preservers, and destroyers of our own internal world, but that also reflects what happens in nature. So I think it's important for us to know that that is inevitable. It's going to happen. And that death should be looked at as like a doorway to the next life. And whatever, your belief system is, if it's a religious one, like, Abrahamists believe in heaven and hell, or even limbo and purgatory and things like that. Hindus, believe in the next life, repeated birth and death, life and death, as well as other like planetary dimensions, like above and below this reality, and then returning to the ultimate source, the absolute. And some that are more along the lines, I guess, of like Buddhists, like, they don't really see it that way, even though it's an offshoot of Hinduism. But, reaching like the ultimate acceptance of how things are in reality, like nirvana, and that we're all part of this, kind of this reality, that I'm no different than like a rock, right? That's oversimplifying. I know people are going to have criticisms of what I just said and say, correct me, and that's fine. Go ahead. I'm just trying to make really big generalizations here. That even if you don't believe, you don't have like a religion or a faith, but you believe that, we're all stardust, we're all matter, and we return to the earth or the water or the air or whatever, that you're thinking of something bigger than yourself, right? And that's ultimately where you'll return. It's just, but I'm seeing more and more that people, especially it's not even just the West or America, it's just in modern day society, have a real tough time, not just accepting death, but coming to terms with their mortality. And so they feel like they have to live life to the fullest, whatever that means. I think it means something completely different to those people than it does to me. Because to me, it means living your most authentic self and your most authentic life, searching for who you really are within, and then your place in this world and what this reality really is. And some people want to fill that up with good times, doing off the wall things or weird things, just for weird sake, or say I did this, but you haven't. Fill their lives up with all these useless things that, I shouldn't say useless, but they're things that you can't take with you when you die. And it's always like one upping, like I have to get the next best thing, or I have to get something that this person just got, or something that they haven't gotten yet, so I can be the first. And they want to escape the reality of what this life, what it contains, and that is not just good times, but that's bad times and a whole lot of other things in between, and then ultimately death, and then the next thing, right? But a lot of us are just so afraid of dying. And again, I'm not saying I'm looking forward to it, like, oh yes, F this life, I'm, I just want to die. I want to experience what it's like to die. As a Hindu, I've already experienced that many, many, many times. And while I've said this before, we aren't this body, we aren't this mind. We are given this body, we're given this mind, so then our soul can, evolve along its journey to its ultimate destination. And so we need to treat this life and all life as precious, because every time you're waking up from sleep, while you're still breathing, that is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to progress forward, on your journey. So it is precious, but you can't be attached to it at the same time, because eventually you're going to lose this life as well. So having that acceptance is real key, but utilizing what you have while you have it. And that ties right into what I was saying. Two things, like finding out what your prescribed duties are in this world. And I don't know what that is for you. And you have to find that within yourself, okay? So fulfilling your prescribed duties. But then while you do have this life, right, and this mind and this body, learn from it, right? But be attached to the doing in the process, the labor, but not the fruits of the labor, not the reaction and not the result, okay? And again, that's something that many of us, including myself, struggle with. But with, death is a result that will happen for everybody. And I don't laugh like, oh, it's so funny when people die, but it's just when people are struggling to accept that and they're so afraid of death, it's really unhealthy. Because what that's saying is when you're afraid of that, you're afraid of that result, and then what happens like when you go through that door. And not only that, but you're afraid of losing what you have or what you could have in this life and in this world. You'll feel like, I didn't measure up. I wasn't successful. I didn't make more money. I didn't get the girl or the guy. I didn't have kids, or had kids and I lost them, or whatever it is. I didn't get the big car, the nice job, all that. I didn't get to go on these trips that my friends were always going on. And you're afraid that when death does come, will you be able to look back and be proud of just the life that you lived? Will you be able to accept, this was my life, and it was no one else's life, but it was mine, and I lived it the best that I could. Just want to get these. I think that's dogwood. I don't think that's cherry or sakura. But yeah, I think people are afraid of that. Deep down, that's what they're mostly afraid of with death, is that they didn't live life to the fullest. And again, that's the materialistic view, right? You're attached to the material world and all these supposedly like great things in it, exciting things, fun things, ecstasy, joy, thrills, attention, validation, adoration. And if you don't attain as much as someone else, the next person or this person or that person, or even like fulfill all of your desires, then you failed, right? And then you might be afraid because you lack the confidence. You lack the confidence because you lack the confidence in what will happen after you die, because you're not in touch with your intuition, with your spirit, with the absolute, whatever you want to call it, the divine, the universe, the force. And so you're doubting what's going to happen to me. And certain, religions, philosophies, I think also make it hard for people when they say you're either going to heaven or hell. And I think that scares a lot of people. And some of you will say, well, that's good. It should scare them. I disagree. I do not think that's healthy, but that's just me. And I really think that it damages a lot of people into either giving up on religion and faith, or it keeps them in it out of fear. And that's not, I don't think that's a healthy approach. I think fear is a part of our existence. And so, yeah, it's mixed in there, but we already have enough fear in this in this world and in these lifetimes, that there needs to be what I've talked about many times before, true joy. And true joy isn't like, living it up, man. I'm going out here. I'm dating this person. I'm doing that. Look at me. It's, okay, I'm going to handle the ups and the downs equally. And I'm going to handle this life and death equally. And that's, and then I have this connection with myself and with God or the universe, whatever. I have that connection and I'm at peace with that. That's joy. Joy is, I can find that within no matter what. And that's what we should be striving for. Because fear can pull you away from that and then make you feel either like, I have to do things this way, or my outcome either in this life or after death is going to be bad, and I want to avoid that. Or, F all that, I'm going to go live life, and if I don't, then like I've been a sucker. I've missed out. So I hope you can see like that polarization in my point of view is really unhealthy, and it is not helpful for at least most people. And again, this goes back to death. A lot of it goes back to death. Either you didn't live life to the fullest, or you're afraid of the outcome once you die. So I do think we need to have more discussions about that, especially in America and especially with our youth. Like, you are not entitled or guaranteed to live to like you're 90, and like achieve all these things. We all know it. Like, women have miscarriages, stillbirths. Kids get hurt in an accident, like babies, or get a disease or, some abnormality, and they don't live past a few days, few weeks, few months, few years. Women and children die in childbirth, and a new father, goes to go get diapers and doesn't come back because he gets hit by a truck, drunk driver or something. And it's just like, shit happens and it sucks. I'm not trying to say, oh, don't be affected by that. But it's one of those acceptances, like ultimately you're going to have to come to the acceptance, like that is a part of life. And it's hard. It's very difficult. Some of those things are so difficult. And I've talked about when I lost my Japanese mom, Michio, like that was one of the hardest things for me to accept and deal and move on. So sometimes, it's hard for me to imagine, like, if you were to lose, the love of your life or your child or something like that, I'm not trying to say, oh, suck it up. But I am trying to say it's hard for us to accept these things when we've had to learn how to avoid all this stuff from when we were kids, little kids, like, oh, well, grandma died because she was old, or this person, died because they got a disease. But don't worry, that won't happen to you. It's like, okay, Jimmy John's 582 C3, calm down. All right. Don't be saying that to your little kid. I think we need to have more of a discussion from an early age and talk about, like, well, yeah, like, why does death scare you? Little Susie, like, why does it scare you? And let's talk about, those fears, but let's also talk about like the acceptance of life. And all the things, the ups and downs that can happen in it. And, depending on the age, you probably have to keep it real simple. And then you can get more, detailed and sophisticated as they get older and their brains and minds develop. But I really do think we need to have more discussions around this and have a healthier perspective on life and death. And I think that we'll notice, like, living life to the fullest will look more and more different for more people. and they won't feel pressured in some ways to live life to the fullest or to believe in a certain religion or philosophy. And they'll be more attached to the doing, the living of life while they have it, rather than focusing on attaining certain outcomes, whether it's in this life or after death. That's all I got for today. Om Gam Ganapate, right? So good luck on the rest of your day today and whatever you're going to be doing. You know, as always, I hope that you guys introspect, reflect, digest, process, get in touch with your intuition, and start to heal and grow into your most authentic higher self. All right, I'll talk to you next time. Enjoy the day wherever you are. I hope it's beautiful like it is here.